It's me again. Oh, I knocked the computer. Sorry. I have a follow-up to my last video. I had a question asked of me that I feel like I should answer because it was a fair question. I think actually I think it was horseshit, but I'm going to answer it because I was asked to. And if you ask me, I'm going to say it. Just understand that if you ask for an answer or you ask for an explanation and you don't like it, that's kind of on you. You knew this was coming. So what I was told, or essentially what was said to me, and kind of asked my thoughts on it, were, because I grew up in a Christian church, and I actually went to seminary for a couple years, and grew up in a Christian school from like pre-kindergarten through 7th grade. Only became a heathen in middle school and 8th grade and through high school. Anyway, so this person knows I have a biblical background and has studied the Bible, and at one time wanted to be a minister and had a little interest there. So she said to me, "So, Greg, we're taught in the Bible, we're taught that we should, preach the gospel. We should stand up for the faith. We should stand up for what we believe in. And I get what you're saying, that this could be harmful to these young homosexuals, that we're saying this is wrong and you're an abomination and you shouldn't be and do this. I understand that's hurtful, but we still need to do that, right?" And I guess the first thing that came to my mind is, if you'll remember, there's a story in the Bible, and I cannot remember the chapter and verse. I'll look it up, quote it later in the text if I need to. But there was a story in the Bible about Jesus is like walking along, and he walks outside the walls of the city, and there's a big crowd gathered around. They all got these big rocks, and they're about to throw them. And Jesus walks around and goes, "Hey, dudes, what are you doing?" And they look, and they're about to throw these big, massive rocks, a whole crowd of people, at this whore, at this prostitute, right? She's laying on the ground like, "Oh, God, they're going to kill me." And they're all like, "Well, kill this whore because she's an abomination. She's a prostitute. She's a whore. We kill these things." Sound familiar? An abomination, something we shouldn't like. Yeah. Anyway, and what did Jesus do in that moment? Jesus stepped up, "Whoa, whoa, 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 guys, no. You love her. You be nice to her, and let me judge her. Your job is to be nice to her, be loving of her, treat her with respect, treat her with love, treat her with dignity, and I'll deal with the rest." So if you believe what the Bible says, or if you believe the ideology, if you're a Christian, that means you follow the Christ, right? So that means you would follow the teachings of the Christ as written in the Bible. So the Bible says, as Christ said through that Bible, just love them. Let him judge them if there's going to be a judgment. So my response to her was, why would you do things that you know will hurt these people? This bill, as I discussed in my last video, has really no bearing or really no effect on what life is and how businesses operate, because it's a transactional thing and blah, blah, blah. What it does is it hurts people. It makes them a second-class citizen. I don't care because whatever. But what does suck is the people who aren't as strong-minded or strong-willed or just assholes like I am. And the younger generation, the younger kids who are just coming out, and especially the ones who come from a really deep religious conservative background, they're really struggling anyway, and then they're hearing you're an abomination, you're no good, you're a sin, you're whatever else. In some cases, you're demon-possessed, and we need to cast out the demons. You're throwing stones at the whore. I've got to believe, if I believe that Jesus Christ was a man who walked the earth and had these teachings and did these things, I've got to believe that just like he walked up to the beggar and was nice to him, and he protected the whore, he stood between them and the whore with the big rocks and said, "Hey, back off, assholes. Let me judge her. You just love her." I believe he'd be standing in front of these young children saying, "Guys, this is not cool. Look at the mental anguish. Look at the torture you're putting these kids through. Stop it." So then she followed up with, "Well, it's pretty clear what the judgment is on homosexuality because Sodom and Gomorrah." It exhausts me. Sodom and Gomorrah was not about homosexuality. It wasn't about gay anything. Sodom and Gomorrah is not treating your neighbors as yourself. One of the biblical love your neighbor as yourself, and and all that. And one of the Ten Commandments, I believe, is love your neighbors yourself. And Sodom and Gomorrah was about these people weren't loving their neighbors themselves. They weren't accepting and receiving visitors in. The town basically said, you have someone strange in your home, send them out so we can rape them. It had nothing to do with gay sex. It had everything to do with the fact that they were being un-Christ-like. They weren't following the teachings, and in this metaphorical story, God said, oh, you're done, because you just don't get it. Your whole town of these assholes, so I'm going to wipe you out. So that's my answer to the question, and that's where I stand. What would Jesus do? I don't think Jesus would really torture these kids to suicide. I don't think Jesus would really want these people to feel like second-class citizens. Let's say you're right. Don't believe it, but let's say you're right. And all faggots are horrible demon-possessed people that are going to burn in hell. Let God tell me that when the time comes. But until then, just let me be.